thank you guys. By the way, a great presentation by Afif. And I think we are working with the MYStartup team on the dev project as well through nation building, and Ash and the team are supporting us. So pretty excited about that. But about my introduction, I mean, it's going to take a whole day, but I'm trying to summarize it a little bit. I'm an ex-founder myself. I started a startup back in 2017-18 through one of Antler programs that was funded, and I scaled it in Pakistan. Before that, I worked in a unicorn called Kareem. It's just like Grab, which was bought by Uber in 2017 for $3.1 billion. That is something that I think AWS startup team saw, because I was pretty much close, originally from Pakistan, and very close to the startup ecosystem over there. And they hired me for this position, which is a business development role. So what essentially we do is we partner with VCs, accelerators, incubators, ecosystem enablers to provide support to their startups through several programs. I mean, it starts from credits that we provide up to $100,000, but there are other programs as well that we support them on. I'm based over in KL, but I manage multiple markets. Pakistan, Malaysia, and Indonesia are the bigger ones, and then we have our Asia emerging market region, which includes Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Brunei. So yeah, that's a bit of my introduction.
All right. Thank you, Gus, for the short and sweet introduction. So, how about you, Mr. Ziwei from SUPA?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ziwei at SUPA. So I'm a product manager here. And my background really is mechanical engineering in oil and gas with ExxonMobil. And at that time, I had a chance to build internal tools for ExxonMobil. And that got me interested in product management, and I'm now at SUPA. So a little bit about what we do. So we provide AI training data to startups and Fortune 500 companies. And what data labeling really is labeling data that is needed really to train AI. And especially in this age where AI is exploding really quickly, it's really important to recognize that the data is the foundation behind a good model. And previously, we worked very closely with computer vision companies. And over the past year or so, I would say, really, we see a new need for a next generation data labeling, especially for large language models, for generative AI, where your data is often dirty and you need someone to really help you fine-tune and make sure it's aligned to human values. So over the past year or so, my work focus has been transitioned more from a customer platform to AI labeling tools, as well as launching new generative AI data labeling pipelines. That's all.
All right, cool. Thank you for the short and sweet introduction. So let us begin with the session in terms of AWS role in the startup growth and startup ecosystem. So for you guys out there, so there's many tools and many services provided by different types of service providers out there. It caters ranging from individuals, startups, SMEs, and even big corporate. So, Gus, what are the specifics, or what are the tools and services from AWS that helps startups to grow more and evolve?
Thank you for the question. That's really interesting. I mean, to focus on just a couple of services, I mean, I won't be doing justice because we have a huge scale when it comes to cloud services. So I will go back in a bit of the history, how we actually started, right? So everybody knows about Amazon. We started our business in the 90s, Amazon Retail, we call it, Amazon.com, and it was scaling like anything. And we were building the infrastructure at that point in time to keep our website 99.9% uptime, having all its efficiency in place. And we were building these huge servers and infrastructures all across the world. And then once we have done that, there was a gap of that bandwidth that was not putting 100% use or optimized for Amazon. And we thought about selling that bandwidth to some companies out there. And it was just an idea, just like in a startup idea. And it was something entirely new that was never done in the past. So a couple of people, including Andy Jassy, who is now the CEO, they came up, hey guys, why don't we sell this bandwidth? There are companies out there that might require this, right? So in that sense, the cloud business was actually started. The first service we launched was in 2006. It was called Amazon S3, our storage service, and that's from where we actually started. So from the startup perspective, if you are working on your idea, if you are building something, you need infrastructure, right? You need those servers, you need that hardware, then you need people to hire to run that. And the way the technological innovation is happening, and now with the AI space, you see every day there's a new tool coming up. As a startup, you cannot keep up with that because you are bootstrapping, you don't have enough funding, or you want to use that funding somewhere else. So that infrastructure is already there. And we run it on pay-as-you-go model, which is really ideal for startups to work on. So for instance, you are experimenting. As a startup founder myself, I mean, we were always experimenting with new things. If this thing is working, if this thing is not working, and there is always a constant failure that goes around. So if you work on a new thing, it works, great, you pay, right? If it doesn't work, you can scale it down as well. So that is really cost efficient. In terms of the services, the most common services that everybody use are Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Service, which provides you compute processing. The S3 service I told about earlier, that is a storage service. We have several services in relational databases as well. Overall, 200 plus services. I can't keep the count of it. And what we do is, once we are scaling, which we are already doing, we try to bring our cost as lower as possible because we work with this Amazon flywheel concept that Jeff Bezos gave us, that once you are at the scale, you have that comfort, you have that liberty to bring the prices down. And over the years, since we started working on AWS Cloud, we have lowered our prices 117 times. So these are few of the factors that a startup needs to look into. But we have our back-end technical team in place that can help you in terms of scaling, in terms of optimizing, in terms of reviewing your tech structure. And then we can recommend you services based on the idea that you are working on, because it will be different for a ride-hailing startup. It will be different for a generative AI startup, right? But we have a plethora of services with a deep depth and breadth that the startups can use. Thank you.
All right, cool. So, Ziwei, from SUPA's perspective, so can you tell me a bit about the services and tools from AWS that has helped SUPA to grow and evolve from years to years?
Yeah, so AWS has been really important in our scaling journey, and as what Gus has shared, I think one really important point about using AWS is that it allows you to focus on growing your business without worrying about your infrastructure, and you let AWS handle the bulk of it. So let me break it down to more detail. So one example of this scalability of the infrastructure is EC2. And to give you a salient example, one of the important AI features we use at SUPA is pre-labeling of images. So for example, you're a self-driving car startup and you want to have footages of car cameras labeled, right? So what we would do is we would first obtain image embeddings of those car images, and then later on prep it for inference of the AI models. And at SUPA, we deal with a lot of data when it comes to data labeling. And unfortunately, one aspect of it is the fluctuation in the data volume. Sometimes, you have a lull period where there's not much going on, and sometimes you just have hundreds and thousands of images, which require a flexible way of handling that data. And ECS has really helped us in that regard. So for example, when we have a lot of data coming in, we can quickly spin up instances of EC2 in order to handle the demand, and then when demand goes away, we can spin down the instances. So that allows us to not only effectively react to that surge in data volume, but also control our costs effectively. And another aspect of that is Lambda. So what Lambda is event-driven servers. So for example, you don't need servers to run all the time for some events that only happen once in a while. And we use that for our data import functionalities, where you don't have a lot of things going on usually, but when you have a critical event, then you need to quickly handle that operation. And we use Lambdas to allow us to effectively build scalable architecture without spending a lot of time on it to customize everything. So I think, in short, Lambda and ECS, I would say, has been very crucial for us.
All right, thank you for the insights. I mean, let's take a step back a bit in terms of our journey before. So, in terms of cloud adoption, so majority of individuals, including big corporates, even startups, afraid in the journey of transition. So, the main factor for their concern is about cost. So, for example, cost might affect their growth for an instance. It may be a roadblock for them in terms of transitioning for a period of cloud adoption. So Gus, in your experience working with startups, so what can AWS help for them to optimize their costs and tackle the idea of being overrun with the operating costs for infrastructure?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, most of the startups are bootstrapping, or even if they are funded, they want to drive that funding somewhere that is more effective for them. And cloud cost, obviously, for early stage startup is something that we believe is a big spending item, and how can we help them? So there are few programs that we run from time to time that provide support. But first and foremost, I would like to tell that we announced in March that we are investing around $6 billion in Malaysia and launching our data center over here. Few of the services will be launched Q1 next year. So after that, those services are launched. The pricing will be in ringgits, the local currency. The uptime will be better, the efficiency will be better, hence it's going to translate into better and effective cost optimization. So that is one for the Malaysian startups, right? The second is we provide credits starting from $1,000 all the way to $100,000. They are based on different guidelines, terms and conditions, but each startup can actually avail $100,000 of credits from us. Then, I mean, there are startups that are working on different platforms when it comes to cloud platforms, right? And they want to transition. And for that transition, there is a cost to it. So for that particular cost, we can provide credits for up to 3 months of whatever cost there will be during that transition, whatever cost there will be in terms of the monthly average cost on the other cloud platform. That is there. Then we run different accelerator programs. We are running one for ASEAN, specifically for Gen AI startups. So if you apply for it, there's still a week to go, and you get selected for that ASEAN Gen AI program. You get credits up to $200,000. So all of these are out there on our website, aws.startups, where you can get this information from. But even after all of that, there are exceptions. There are extensions that we provide in terms of credits to startups from time to time. You're launching a new product. You are not sure whether it's going to scale. We can provide credits for you, align you with one of our AWS partners to test it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you are not really spending some amount on it. Then from my side, from the business development side, since I work with VCs, most startups reach out to me that Gus, connect us with one of the VCs. We are raising a next round. We need funding. And vice versa, it happens from the VC side as well. Recently, I actually connected one of the health tech startups with a VC based in Indonesia because the VC was looking for specifically a health tech startup, right? So we make these connects as well, which open doors, which save you time in terms of raising those funding. And if your deck is good enough, it's effective enough, getting an AWS brand behind you opens that door easily. In terms of these credits, that is a separate thing, but we can also review your tech stack, right? So, I mean, there are startups that came to us that our cost is too high. And we actually connected them with the relevant solution architect team, our backend tech team, and we worked on the whole tech stack, what services they are using, how we can optimize those services, how we can tell them not to use these services because they don't make sense for that particular startup. That can also help in lowering cost. Right now, how the world is going with macroeconomic situation, inflation, a lot of startups are doing these cost optimization exercises. We are running programs through our AWS.startup site that you can actually go and learn from, or you can reach out to me. I'll connect you with one of our tech team. They are going to review your tech stack and help you lower the cost. I think we did that with SUPA a couple of times as well, and other our startup customers. So there is the ask that I want to give to everybody over here is, what exactly do you want from AWS in terms of not just the cost, but in terms of scaling, in terms of moving to other markets, in terms of reaching out to VCs? You need to be clear about your ask, and more than 90% of the time, we can actually leverage on our global network and we can help you out. I cannot guarantee it 100%, but we can open the doors. We can give you more credit. It doesn't have to be that, okay, I have finished 100% of my credit, and I want more. There should be a reason to it, because we believe that, okay, after $100,000 of credit, a startup should be on a scale where they will be generating some revenue. If they are generating some revenue, then they can pay us. If they cannot pay us, they come up with a case which makes sense to us. Obviously, we are going to provide you more. So there is always a way to optimize that cost on the startup side.
Okay, cool. So you guys heard it. You can apply for free credits. So do reach out to AWS after this. Okay, Ziwei, from your experience, can you provide how SUPA's business strategy on optimizing costs when it comes to cloud infrastructure?
Sure. So first of all, yeah, we have gotten some credits from AWS as well. So thanks, guys. On the managing of your AWS cost, there have been a few policies or best practices that we practice at SUPA. So the first one really is managing of your instances. So you want to right-size your instance and not over-provision the infrastructure. And what is good about AWS is that they provide additional tools like Amazon CloudFront that allows you to monitor how much utilization is going on. So you can look at how much CPU and compute you're using, and really if you're underutilizing, just scale it down. And AWS is happy to do that anytime. It's really flexible. You also want to use spot instances for services that are not critical in terms of computing. Amazon might take it back anytime, but if it's, if your operations is fine to be interrupted, let's say if it's a data analysis operation, or it's like some background processors or batch processing for AI, then it's fine. You use those cheaper spot instances to save some cost. Other than managing of instances as well, and utilizing the tools that Amazon provides, such as CloudFront, as well as the AWS Trusted Advisor, or even human advisors that they provide to help consult and give you some recommendations. There are also some policies that you can set internally to make sure that you're best utilizing your infrastructure costs. To give you an example, for your Amazon S3 storage, you don't need some data to be accessible all the time. So let's say if there are data for backup or archive, you can move it into the AWS infrequent zone, where the storage costs are a bit cheaper, and you can set a deletion policy as well. Say after 3 months, just delete the data, save you some costs. And there's also some other policies, such as how you manage your object transfers within S3. For example, if you need a lot of read operations on a certain set of data, you can cache that data instead of relying on data transfers all the time. So to sum it all up, it's about managing your instances, setting good data policies within your organization, and finally rely on AWS for credits, for recommendations, and not only on the cost side as well. On the revenue side, think about how they can leverage their customer network, their VC network, to help you grow your revenue.
All right. So we have talked about costs, we talk about the changes that every people encounter. So how about the future? So Gus, looking at towards the future, what are the plans for AWS to help more on the startup ecosystem? And what are the trends or emerging needs for the ecosystem itself?
Future is super exciting, to be very honest. Right now, I mean, there's a huge interest in artificial intelligence, right? Everybody, whether startup, enterprise, small, medium businesses, wants to do something with it. I was talking to Pentype earlier. I mean, they are in the AI space. I mean, I saw their deck yesterday. I mean, a lot of exciting stuff. I'm trying to help them connect with the VCs. And hopefully, we are working on some internal tools, so I'm going to loop them in. On our side, we are doing some amazing stuff in terms of this AI space because we feel like that is the future, starting off from the hardware. The Trainium chipset, these are our chipsets that are used to process the large language models, which are these generative AI models. Just to be on the very basic stuff, these Trainium chips help in terms of processing it more efficiently and more cost effectively. Then we have our own large language model that is called Amazon Titan. Then we have Amazon Bedrock service, which is in limited access right now to certain customers. We are going to launch it in next quarter for the larger customer base. But what it essentially does is it's like a marketplace where we have put on all of these large language models. So it's not just you're going to get access to our LLM, Amazon Titan, or OpenAI for that matter. You can get access to Stability AI, you can get access to Hugging Face, and some others as well. And whatever you feel like using to build up your own infrastructure, to build up your own product using these technologies, you can do that. And that is the focus for us, that we want to democratize artificial intelligence. We don't want to lock it with just one large language model, whether it is ours or whether it is of somebody else. So in future, you will see a lot of AI tools integrating in different aspects of a lot of companies. Not just startups are going to use them. Everybody is going to use them one way or the other. Yes, in the short term, that is also going to impact the workforce. Even for us, I mean, if I give the example that I work with the VCs, and these VCs have invested in the startups, right? And I have to go through these startups. I have to see at different attributes, what is the lifeline of this startup? How good is it going to do in next 3 months or 6 months or 6 years, right? As a human, I can do so much. But if I add in the technology, I can do that in minutes, right? So all of these tools are necessary, not just for big tech, but for everybody to save them the time, to save them the cost. What I would suggest everybody is to start focusing on how they can learn from this artificial intelligence boom, what skill set they can start off from. And those skills will be super important in the future. And to build those skill set, we are running these training programs. Earlier, I mentioned about this nation building program that we are running in Malaysia, because we are launching this cloud infrastructure, this data center, and we see a skill gap that, okay, we will require a lot of people to manage that data center, right? Where are we going to get those people from? We can get some from Malaysia, but we need to train our students, our young professionals, in a lot of technologies that they don't know about, or they don't know where to get the learning from. So we are running these parallel training programs. We are doing creation on the infrastructure side of building hardware, software, and integrating it internally, and also giving access to the larger audience, enterprises and startups and whatnot. And we are also building the capacity in terms of these large language models require huge processing. It's a cost to it. How we can lower that cost, how we can build a better infrastructure. So all of that is going to help the startups in the future. And we are always getting the feedback from the customers in creating new services. I mean, the AWS Lambda was actually created by the feedback we got from the customers. We never created that service. We got that feedback from the customers. If you can create something where we can run instances sometimes, and sometimes we can put them off. So all of that was done based on the customer feedback, and we still get that feedback right now. So those services are constantly evolving, refining, and we are creating new services based on the requirements of the world out there. But closing on that, artificial intelligence is going to play a huge, huge role across the board for all businesses and all startups. And that is something we are focusing on, and that is something I would recommend everybody to focus on.
Wow. So the future awaits for us. So there's going to be a lot of tools that AWS can help us in the future. But in terms of catching up to the trends and tools out there, I think my last question to Ziwei is, how do we catch up with fast-paced growing tools out there or services that have been provided to us?
Yeah. So I think the past, half year or so has been crazy, for everyone working in AI and also for companies who are looking into grow in AI and adapt AI in their organization. So for us as well, over the past year or so, we have seen a rapid growth of generative AI, and actually that sparked a new growth for data labeling as well. So a lot of companies are thinking about implementing generative AI, whether it's chatbots, whether it's internal search using generative AI. A lot of times, it might be easy to create a prototype, right? But then to get it to production, there's actually a lot of things that you need to think about in the background, such as how do you fine-tune the data to react in a brand voice that you want, or to reflect the facts that you care about in your company. So for us, we actually have been working with a lot of generative AI companies to help them with data curation, help them with fine-tuning, or even help them with setting up guardrails for their chatbots, for their internal employee search, so that they can actually harvest all the value that they can from generative AI. And I think that, we are going through a hype cycle of AI, and unfortunately, what will come is the trial of disappointment. And I think it's really important to, sift out the noise about AI and think about what's really important for your company. What are the problems that you want to solve in your organization, and what kind of AI can really deliver that unique value, and focus on those. There are so many aspects of, AI. There's traditional AI like computer vision, search recommendation. There's generative AI like text, image, video. So really, I would say, focus on what's really important and ignore the voice and just keep building. And most importantly, think about what is needed, and not just build a ChatGPT wrapper, for example, right? Think about what will create long-lasting moat for your company and your application.
Okay, I think our time is up already. So to sum it up, AWS are here to help startups in their journey in terms of scaling and evolving. They do have different programs out there. They do help you guys with free credits and even consultation. In that sense, leveraging from SUPA by using AWS has helped them to evolve more quickly and also help them in terms of cost optimization. So thank you guys. Thank you Ziwei for attending this session. I hope to see you guys again in the future.